Welcome to Doublespeak. I'm your host and producer Casey, and the team joining me today is Liam.
My gut says it's true.
And Oscar.
I am!
Weeding out the lies. Daniel.
I speak pig English.
Making them. Oh, and Amanda, my fellow Ute fact checker. Here on Doublespeak we play a little game. Daniel has a lot of random, useless and useful knowledge, so we're going to put his skills to the test. Each episode, Daniel becomes an expert on a new topic, which he explains to Liam and Oscar. They then guess whether he's telling the truth or not. Liam and Oscar get a point if they agree with each other and get it right, otherwise Daniel wins and gets the point. Tamara will be joining Oscar today to guess whether today's topic is real or not. As usual, there'll be no Googling, just plain intuition. You guys can ask as many questions as you want to try and tear Daniel down, but just remember that he's backed up by Amanda and myself. Today, chinchillas.
Yep.
Okay, please start talking.
Cool. So, yes, we're going to be doing chinchillas today. So we're going to go through some scientific information about the chinchillas, and then we're going to go through some facts. And there's quite a few of them, because chinchillas are studied very closely because they're pets, and we like to know a lot about our pets. So,
What?
there are two what?
Chinchillas are pets?
Yes, yeah, they're very common household pets.
I want one.
They're like, you look after them similar to how you would look after like a hamster or something, but they're a little bit,
I got a rat!
yeah, they're a little bit more difficult to look after, but you'll see why.
Okay.
So there's two different species of chinchilla, chinchilla, and Chinchilla lanigera.
Oh, okay.
The chinchilla lives in the north of Chile, whereas the lanigera lives nearer the south, so like halfway through Chile. And their sort of habitats overlap in the middle, so the bottom of the chinchilla habitat overlaps with the top of the other chinchilla's habitat. And domestic chinchillas are often of the lanigera variety, which we'll send a photo in of what they look like. So, the name chinchilla comes from Spanish, and it literally translates to little bug, and it's the diminutive of chinche, which is very interesting. Chinchillas also cannot get wet. If they do get wet, they will freeze to death and die, because their fur is too thick and will not be able to dry off.
They got no chill.
So, because their fur is wet, it'll just cause them to keep radiating heat until they die, because they just can't dry off. And that's why you see chinchillas having dirt baths, because the dirt serves the same purpose of either cleaning them off or cooling them down, because dirt, if it's in the shade, can be quite cold. So if they do ever need to cool down on some of the days where it is hot, because they do have very dense fur, they often have dirt baths.
So they can't. Do they sweat?
I think that's only a human thing.
Is it?
Apart from platypuses when they feed their young.
Wow.
Yeah, well, they sweat milk, but like, that's not really sweat then, is it? Because the intention of sweat is to kind of release heat. But no, they don't sweat. I remember hearing somewhere that pigs might. No, pigs don't sweat, but that's why they roll in mud. Yeah, humans are one of the very few animals that sweat, which is partially why we can run for very long periods of time and cool down at the same time. No other animal can cool themselves down and be active. Like dogs, they can't pant while they're running, at least not in a way that cools themselves down.
So we evolved to sweat, but we chose water instead of milk. Such a waste.
Well, I mean, can humans sweat milk?
I'd like to sweat chocolate milk.
That would be cool.
What about chinchillas?
I don't
Next
even
week
think
on
platypus can
Doublespeak.
do that.
We feed a chocolate bar to a platypus.
I mean,
A platypus?
surely there's a way that you can make it taste like chocolate. But I don't know how you would milk a platypus.
I'll put it on a treadmill.
It's got to be something to do with hormones and them being around their young, right? Because if they're present around their young, then they secrete milk, and then the young like lap it up.
Just give them a chinchilla.
We've got in the group chat the photos of the 2 different types of chinchilla, and it's kind of a rough comparison of how they look.
Oh, wow.
So the top one is the chinchilla, but the name that it's got there is the previous older name for that species of chinchilla.
Oh, did they change it in like the last few decades?
Yes, yeah, it was updated to be more accurate.
I can see why the pets are usually the La Nigera variety.
Yeah.
They look like they're prim and happy and ready to do stuff, and the other one looks like a really old, grumpy brick.
Yeah, it's so chunky.
The chinchilla are also more endangered.
Oh shit!
Can we get the image in of the chinchilla habitat?
So are chinchillas only in Chile?
Yes.
Oh.
So that's the habitat of the chinchillas. It's very, very cold majority of the time, at least for an animal of their size, because smaller animals tend to get a little bit colder than big ones.
How big would they be roughly?
If you put your fists together, a little bit bigger than that.
That's bigger than I thought they'd be.
They're quite big.
I was expecting a little thing I could hold in my hand, but that thing looks like it could, I don't know, face hug me or something.
Here is a photo of the domestic variety. They're quite large. They're the size of a rabbit.
So essentially just a South American rabbit.
Well, they fill a very similar niche in the food chain. They're like cross between a rabbit and a rat, both visually and behaviorally, and they are very, very fluffy. So moving on to the facts. So chinchillas can recover from most minor physical injuries with ease, and this is because of the fact that they very rarely end up getting injured. Unless, of course, it's fatal, right? But then you can't recover from a fatal injury. Most injuries they get, they can recover from. Due to their small size and high density fur. So because their fur is so dense, they can't really get cuts, scrapes, or all that sort of stuff. And because they're so small and reasonably lightweight, falling from places doesn't really matter too much to them. But if they do happen to get a cut or a scrape or some sort of piercing of the skin, they heal from that quickly because they have very thick blood. So their blood clots faster, which means the body can start turning the dead blood cells back into meat and flesh and stuff, and they can start healing from scars and cuts and stuff, and they don't really bleed out very much. And they have thicker blood. They've evolved to be like this because of the cold environment that they live in. So their thicker blood helps maintain heat better than thinner blood, but it does also make them prone to issues with their hearts.
Do they get little heart attacks?
Yes, like most rodents. A lot of rabbits, you can scare them and they'll die because of how fast their heart pumps blood.
So if they were being attacked and they were frightened, it'd just be a free meal?
Well, it's somewhat more unexpected things. They're very vigilant, rabbits. So it's kind of hard to terrify them into having heart attacks. But if they have a lot of stress, specifically domestic rabbits, if they have a lot of stress in their lives, then they can be quite prone to heart issues because they're very small and they beat very, very, very fast. And if rabbits are being chased by something, often there's adrenaline, which helps them sort of think faster and sort themselves out.
I feel like I need to apologize to someone's pet.
Along the lines of issues with chinchillas have been known to have issues with mental health, much like humans. They are incredibly social animals and feel great distress if their connections with other chinchillas are disrupted. There's been studies that show they get anxiety and depression if their breeding partners are abruptly taken away from them. And this is often shown in aversion to socializing and a lack of eating and chewing their own fur in a sort of excessive grooming behavior, right? Like to excessively keep clean, they'll keep munching on their own fur, which can often damage it and cause other issues.
That actually sounds really sad.
Yes, yeah. A lot of very social animals can have issues with depression, like elephants. Elephants are one of the best examples of depression in animals. There's often a very large mourning period witnessed when a member of an elephant herd dies or is killed. The elephants will stay around the body and kind of be sad.
Aw.
Oh, that's so sad.
I hope the little fellas have more luck on Chinder.
Chinder. Bruh.
If they're like, are they monogamous, or do they breed like?
Rabbits.
They tend to stick with a specific breeding partner for most of the breeding season, but they can change between if they have to. But if there's no exterior reason, they tend to stick with the same breeding partner.
And do they live in groups in the wild?
Yes.
Okay.
What's a group of them called, if you know?
There isn't a name for a collection of chinchillas. It's just chinchillas.
Chimichanga.
Chimchilla. Another fun thing about them is they don't drink water.
What?
Partially because of issues caused. If they do get wet, it's very risky for them to drink. But they get a very large amount of their water from all of their food, which is mostly plants and insects. So they don't end up needing to drink water.
Do they interact at all with the cactus?
They do eat the cactus, yeah. Because they're able to get between all the spikes, and the spikes don't really affect them too much because of how fluffy their fur is. And if they do end up getting spiked, that's really no issue for them. They eat most plant matter, and they burrow near big plants, so they can get to their food sources as quickly as possible from leaving their burrows. And they can break through the exterior of tougher foods with their teeth in order to get at what they need to eat. Tougher, drier sort of plants, they can chew off the outside bark or the tougher, drier exterior to get at what they actually want to eat, which is the inside of the plant.
How do they avoid the rain? Because I'm assuming burrowing in the ground, I mean, the water's just going to percolate. So,
well, you would think that burrows would get filled up with water, wouldn't you? But have you ever noticed that happening?
I mean, I personally
No, 'cause
have
I'm
never been
inside my
inside a
house.
bar. Yeah.
Well, clearly you haven't lived the rabbit lifestyle.
No, I haven't.
A lot of animals burrow, and most animals that burrow have a technique to prevent water from getting inside their burrow. Whether that's starting off low and then digging up a bit, say in the side of a cliff or a mountain, you dig horizontally, then you dig up a little bit up, and then you go down and dig the burrow. So the water, if it does go inside, will never be able to get over that little bump.
Yeah, but wouldn't the water still trickle down into the physical burrow? Or
No.
would they choose areas like under rocks and stuff?
So, you know the pipes that are attached to toilets, the ones that look kind of like an S or that are all zigzaggy? Yeah. So if you have a pipe going horizontally and then it's got a 45-degree turn, goes up, then a 90-degree turn that goes down, water isn't going to be able to get over that bump because it's just going to flow back out, right? Because it's easier for the water to flow out of the horizontal tunnel than to fill up, and there's not enough pressure to get over that mound, right? It's like a little sandbag thing almost.
Yeah.
And that prevents water from getting inside their burrow. That's a pretty common strategy. Or you can do the inverse of dig down and then up a bit and then have the burrow up. That's what beavers do with their dams. So then there's air inside their dams, and it's dry.
So that's the type of thing that the chinchilla and other burrowing creatures would do.
Yes, yeah. Although there's plenty of other ones. There's a I don't know what species of animal it was, but it's extinct now, and it was around the time of the Ice Age, and it has spiral burrows.
Mm.
which were all very, very interesting. But I can't remember the exact reason why it did it. It was very, very interesting why it did it, but I can't quite remember exactly why.
All you're telling me right here is that if I get a chinchilla, I'm going to have a little fluffy friend that's also a plumber.
Yeah.
Yeah, chuck him in the toilet.
Oh, no. No.
You can't flush a dead chinchilla because it just comes back to life and starts burrowing through the pipes.
I was going to say the fur expands so much it won't flush. like a tampon or something.
Yeah, it's so absorbent of water.
I drew a really, really terrible drawing of the burrow, if you want to go and have a look at it.
I feel like that'd be really useful.
I see.
Yeah.
I get it.
Interesting.
Gotcha.
So chinchillas, breeding
How'd it fall down?
wise, are known to have 2 to 6 pups per pregnancy, and their gestation is 25 days long.
Whoa.
They do breed like rabbits.
That's ironic.
Yeah. And the mother chinchillas do nurse their young and look after them for a while, like most mammals.
Do you have any idea how long it takes until they stop needing their mother?
They tend to the children tend to become independent around autumn.
So the
tend to
mating
be-
season is in summer.
Yeah.
Wait.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, I'm just trying to picture it. So do the kids leave the group? Oh, the collection of chinchillas. Do they just, once they have them, they just disperse?
They stop looking after them.
Okay.
The children just kind of do their own thing afterwards. They're independent adults.
Are they called chinny chinchillas?
No, I don't think people have spent the time to make massive amounts of puns out of all the possible names for chinchillas and their actions.
Well, that's the point of Doublespeak. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. If you've made it this far, welcome to the danger zone.
So chinchillas are very friendly animals, which is why they are so attractive as pets. They spend their time with their mates in the summer, and then they hibernate in burrows during the colder winter months. And then all of the chinchillas together kind of share each other's body heat to keep warm, along with their thick fur. And the children that they have help gather up more food throughout the autumn for the winter hibernation. So it's kind of self-fulfilling sort of thing. If they have kids, which help them get through the winter more, so then they can have more kids, so on and so forth.
So with the two different kinds of chinchillas, you said that the Lanigera one was in the south of Chile?
Not necessarily the south, but more southern than the chinchilla.
Because generally because I would assume that the other one would be, because it's bigger. It looks like it's bigger, so would it be fluffier? Because southern Chile would be colder.
Or is it just more dense?
Yeah, because I feel like
it's less a density thing, it's more an agility thing. That the one with the longer legs moves a lot faster, whereas the other one kind of just waddles around. But that's likely due to predators in the area, food sources, terrain.
it's more mountainous.
Were you meaning, Tamara, that because it looks more agile, is it the one that's more susceptible to the cold, but it's in the colder area?
Well, yeah, I was just like, because looking at the image, the bigger one looks like it would last longer in a like colder environment, just because it's like, I don't know, it just looks chunkier. Whereas the smaller one, if it was super agile, wouldn't it lose it would heat up faster, wouldn't it? I'm just surprised as to why they're so different.
Yeah, it is odd. But say you have, you know, like the layout of Chile, right?
Yeah.
So there's the bit where it gets really, really thin and then goes down to the bottom of South America. So from the top of the very thin, like where it starts to get very, very thin to the bottom, about halfway between there is where Lanigera 1 lives. But then above that, up to past where it gets very, very thin, is where the chinchilla lives.
Okay.
But yes, it is strange that the larger one that looks furrier lives further up, but like especially since that's just a little under the equator.
Because that would be warmer if it was near the equator.
But it's colder anyway because they live in the mountain.
That is true. Yeah.
And yeah, the Lanigera probably live in a more lowlands area, or their shape and size and changes are affected by the terrain and predators, etc.
What predators do they have?
Yeah, I was gonna say, speaking of predators,
Oh, segue.
large birds of prey are the main predator that they fear, but snakes and cats and skunks, etc., are also very, very big predators for chinchillas.
I keep forgetting that snakes are a thing. It's just because every other place in the world has snakes, and it's always like a thing. But here, you don't leave your house thinking that there's snakes. It's just weird to think that snakes exist.
Yeah. So
I didn't know skunks would eat a chinchilla.
Yeah.
Skunks are meat eaters, yeah.
They look passive.
Stinky pants don't like them anymore.
Yeah.
Well, so snakes and skunks can find their way into the burrows in order to eat and kill them inside their burrows, often to kill the offspring while the parents are out getting food. And cats and birds will kill the chinchillas when they leave to go searching for food, which is why they often bury close-ish to a food source, and they make their burrow underneath maybe a plant or a tree or a cactus or something like that. So they're a little bit closer, so they don't have to go so far to find food. But partially because of their predators, they are crepuscular, which means that they are most active during twilight. So when it starts to get darker, you may be able to see on the photo, they are darker on the top of their backs and lighter underneath. So as the sun is setting, they're harder to see when it starts to get dark, whereas they'll stick out like a little bit of a sore thumb from above, at least for the birds, during daytime. Plus, it can be rather warm in the daytime, as well, comparatively to the time that they tend to go searching around for stuff, because any direct sunlight when you're that fuzzy can heat you up quite a bit. But they have to be that fuzzy because the nights get real cold.
Do they come in
Real
other colors?
chilly.
Pardon, Tamara?
Do they come in other colors, or is the grey just a general?
Just greys. They don't really have a need for being very different in their color schemes.
Dang, I wanted a blue one.
Because I mean, I'm assuming in some areas there'd be a lot of snow, right? Especially in the south, it gets really cold.
Not necessarily, because in order to create snow, it needs to be a very specific environment. But even then, in the snow, I don't think they're in the right places for snow.
Interesting.
There's a couple other facts.
All right, then.
As I mentioned before, they are very, very peaceful animals. They aren't very aggressive, but if they do feel threatened, they can spray urine and bite, and they have
me.
very, very sharp teeth. Although they are rather agile, and they can move and run very quickly, they can't jump very well, so they can't get much vertical ground on a predator. They tend to try and run back to their burrows if possible.
So if they spray urine, wouldn't they get it on themselves? How would they avoid the whole hypothermia thing?
They don't have much fur on their butt, like most animals.
Yeah, I guess.
And they can lift their tails up and stuff. But as you can see on the image, the fur on the tail isn't as dense as on their skin.
Still looks pretty boofy.
Yes, it is very, very floofy.
And the ears, why do they have such big ears?
That's also to radiate heat, so they can flush blood into their ears, and for hearing. So they can rotate, like rabbits, they can rotate their ears around to try and listen, but they can also flush blood into them to cool down.
I never thought ears did that.
Actually, that's the main reason for a lot of very large ears. That's why elephants have such large ears. Because if you flush blood in a thin piece of skin with a very large surface area, heat can be, as air moves past it, there's a lot more area for the wind to carry away some of the radiated heat, especially if they can't sweat.
So that's why they like flop them around.
Yes, yeah. If you see an elephant, yeah, like waving its ears, it's trying to cool down. They can also be like fans for their back and their shoulders, because of the heat.
So we have a big floopy flop and a tiny fluffy flop.
So there's a disease that is very common in wild chinchillas, Melantus keratosis, otherwise known as monkeypox.
Oh god.
Wait, what?
That's
Yeah.
fitting.
It's a rather rare disease and is carried by the bites of infected chinchillas and other rodents. But that tends to be the main disease that they carry and can be affected by. So if they are infected, they get issues with their eyes, their skin, and their lungs. But it can be transmitted through the bite of a chinchilla. So if you get bitten by a chinchilla, you can get infected with the disease, and it can be spread to humans. But it is often treated with antibiotics. And pet chinchillas can be vaccinated against this, so they cannot spread to the family if the chinchilla does bite them. And if someone does want to adopt a chinchilla, it is best that they adopt a chinchilla that is born into captivity and handled from a young age, much like most other rodents and animals, so then it's used to humans. And it can be better, instead of just having a chinchilla, to have one or two, so then they can sort of have a familial bond and another animal around to keep them company, so they don't get all sad and depressed.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere one time, I believe it was for guinea pigs, but I think there is a country out there that has a rule. I'm not too sure if it's an actual law or if it's just kind of like a general rule that animals like guinea pigs and possibly chinchillas need to have a partner, because it can be so isolating and they can get
I know
bad.
most pet stores require you to buy mice and the like in groups. And hamsters, I think people tend to buy hamsters in pairs.
Yeah, hamsters are a thing.
So then they can be all happy and safe.
And so Chile is the only one that has chinchillas.
Yes.
And like the surrounding South American countries, do they also like have like permit chinchillas as pets?
You can get a chinchilla as a pet most places in the world.
Oh. Interesting.
I would like one.
Yeah. Hopefully not in Peru. I know that over there, and like small rodents are considered more
A delicacy.
yeah. But
Yeah,
those are,
they
I think
they are
those
on the endangered list because people have hunted them, mostly for their fur.
Oh yeah.
And because they're rather small, you do need to get a lot of them in order to make anything out of it. And it's used very similar to possum fur to make like hats and gloves and stuff. But yeah.
That's chinchillas.
Yes, any questions, or if you guys have your conclusion?
I mean, I got one question for Tamara.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Playing to my hand here. Is the translation from Spanish to English true? Is that correct?
Well, that's tricky. For me, it's not. For me, I don't know what the word. I believe you said, Daniel, that it was little bug or something.
Little bug, yeah.
But that's tricky. Because for me, that makes no sense, right? Bug for me is bicho, and little bug would be bichillo or bichino. But bichino would be more adequate. But no, bichito. ito is usually the diminutive. But it depends because South America has a lot of indigenous groups, and so a lot of their vocabulary is it ranges from different things in different countries. We have like 20 different words for the word straw, so it's not like, even though it makes no sense to me, it would just be real and I would have no idea. Iya is a very common South American diminutive, so that's at least right.
So it is affected by Inca,
Inca.
the Inca language.
Inca's
They
Peru,
have a
isn't it?
word, Quinchua,
Mm.
and it's thought to be it's an altered version of Spanish that's been affected by that. So it's kind of like a halfway point.
Yeah. Because, yeah, like there's so many different words for the same thing.
And you're saying they're only native to Chile?
Yes. Well,
Were
there's the surrounding areas of South America around their habitat. There are some chinchillas, but the majority of them are in Chile. Yeah.
Is there much of a population in Mexico? Because I heard that there might be something there.
Maybe those are like
There's no
pets.
like native
Okay.
chinchillas in
Yeah, they might be
Mexico.
introduced or something.
Okay, gotcha.
Are the two species able to breed
Procreate?
together? Yeah.
Yes.
And does that create a
A platypus? What does it make?
like does it create like a mix of the two or like one of each? Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
It can vary between being the same as one parent, the same as the other, or halfway in between, like breeding dogs.
Interesting.
I was
then,
hoping
like-
it'd just make a rabbit.
How do you classify the two different species? Because there has to be like some different thing, right?
Habitat and body shape, ear size, tail size. It's also they have different skulls, very different
Yeah.
skulls.
So, what do you think, Tamara? Do you have any more questions about that? Because I'm leaning towards it being true, but they could have changed one little fact, and then that makes the
Yeah.
rest of it a lie.
So
Yeah,
the majority, if it's a lie, the 80% is
majority.
false, 20%
Yeah.
is true, because there is a certain amount of general knowledge that we just can't lie about.
Yeah.
And if it's
Right.
true, we'll aim for 100% being true.
Yeah, we're not
Okay.
arguing about whether or not chinchillas exist. You know, just like toast, right? We all
Yes.
know that chinchillas exist, and we all know.
Wait,
yeah.
toast exists?
Yes, Oscar.
I think it is, but that's just my opinion.
Someone stole my idea.
I have eaten toast in my life. Funnily enough,
What?
we know that chinchillas exist, and there's a certain amount of, you know, they are a small rodent. That's all true. It's just kind of like, from a certain point, it might be true, or from a certain point, it might be false. But it's just the general gist kind of a thing.
I'm gonna go with true.
Did we have to agree? Like, does it have to be?
If you
Yes.
disagree, then I get a point.
Oh.
So,
Okay.
I'm leaning towards true, but if you make a fair argument, I'll back you on that.
Yeah, if you think it's false, you can try and convince Oscar to side
Yeah.
with you.
Okay. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
you can
don't-
back yourself up. Like, you can give yourself a chance to explain why you think the way that you think.
Well, I mean, it's more just like a vibe. So I can't really. I don't know. I just can't.
Who knows Daniel's vibe more, you or me? Shit.
Well, like, I don't really know when Daniel lies, so there's that. I don't know. It could be true. I feel like it could be true. I don't really know much about chinchillas.
Neither. I didn't know they had a disease called monkey disease.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that in itself is odd.
I didn't know there were two of them.
That's true. But I mean, he did say that the main one, there's only
Yeah.
really one of them does get domesticated, and of course those would be the ones that everyone takes pictures of, because I've never seen the other kind.
No, I haven't either. It
which is-
seriously just looks like an angry fluffy brick.
Yeah, it does. But it's interesting that you didn't provide a photo of the other one. But
What do you mean?
well, we got
Oh,
provided.
Get one if you want.
We can get one, yeah.
Do it.
Yeah, I'd love to see big chunky chinchillas.
Big chungus.
Hang on.
There it is. I've got one.
Would there be big chungus?
Big chungus.
Yep. Big Chinchungus.
Big chinchungus of the chimichanga tribe.
Yeah, chimichangas.
I've sent one and it's still sending.
It's that chungus.
It's very chungus.
It's a very large file.
that chinchilla ain't that small.
I don't know. I feel like it could be true.
Google chinchilla breeds and like 50% of the photos are just rabbits.
Yeah, I feel like it could
Why
be
is it
true
taking
because
so long to send?
like I don't. A lot of it's kind of just like weird, very specific. Like, oh, it will die if it gets wet, and you kind of think like, oh, but if it's raining, how do they live if it rains all the time? But
Does it rain all the time in Chile?
well,
Because the air, at least I'm basing it off the photo they provided me. So that could be somewhere in Argentina for all I know.
So that's
But-
the photo that we sent in is the Andes Mountains
Yeah.
in Chile.
yeah,
It is very dry. It's the desert road in New Zealand, how that is a
Yeah.
desert because of a lack of rain.
Yeah.
It's very close to a desert. There's a large lack of moisture in the atmosphere and rain-wise, which is why you see very sort of desert-like plants of cacti and small bushes, small shrubs.
He's thick.
oh my god, I would much rather have this pet than the other one.
Oh my god, he's thick. Look at him. A thick boy.
They're very big.
All right. What do you guys reckon?
I'll go with true, I guess.
True.
I've got unanimous true.
Yeah, unanimous true.
Yeah.
All right, drum roll, please.
Oh god.
It's false.
What?
Ah!
Hey.
So, the scientific information about the two different species of chinchillas, where they live, the different varieties, what their name translates to, about how they can't get wet, that they have dirt baths, the pictures of, their habitat and what they look like, and the fact that their name didn't used to be Chinchilla, it was the one that's listed there that I'm not going to try and pronounce. That's all true. But
Okay.
from then on,
That's
they're
just all the
either
facts
entirely
about-
made up, or they're like, what was the animal?
I stole half the facts from the Jerobas. So, there's a lot of stuff that was very,
Jerboas.
very... Jerboas? Jeroba? Yep. Yeah. So,
Rabbit.
those little, like, deserty, rabbity, chinchilla looking things. So, chinchillas actually will eat whatever you can kind of put in front of their hands. They eat meat, they eat nuts and seeds and flowers and, plant matter. Their gestation is actually 110 days.
Oh.
And they have
So they
26
don't-
pups.
So they're
So
not
they
like
don't
rabbits.
breed like rabbits. No.
God, I was so happy about that.
Yeah. And they take about 2 months old before the kids become, like, independent. And they actually breed over winter by the looks of things. They're really small. So that photo that Daniel sent was a little bit misleading because they're actually significantly smaller than a rabbit. They're kind of more rat size. Except, like, if rats were, like, sitting up all the time. They're cool pets because they are very cute and they're a little bit different. But they are kind of assholes. They chew a lot more than rabbits do. Like, they have a little bit more of a destructive tendency because their teeth don't stop growing. But I think, they're just a little bit more hectic than rabbits are. And they're really good at jumping.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was about to say because the legs look very agile.
Yeah.
And if they live in like high mountainous areas, there will be times where they will have to jump.
Yeah.
But the other one looks too fat too, so.
So there were also some facts that I stole from the Jerboa. So the monkeypox, that was true, but that was a true fact about the Jerboa, not the chinchilla. And
The fact
no
it
water
still
drinking.
exists, though.
Yeah. The no water drinking was from the Jerboa, and the heat from their ears was also from Jerboa.
But they do have big
Oh.
ears, though.
I just got an Yeah, they do, but that was a fact that I directly stole from the Jabos. I just got a wee note that says disease thing was made up. Yes, it was made up, and then I kind of added to it by adding more lies on top of the other lie.
Ah.
They are so cute, though.
They are. And they are specifically native to Chile?
Yes.
Okay.
I will send in the map.
Anyway, that's all for today, folks, because we're getting to 45 minutes. So, yeah, I guess we'll be back next week with another...
Why would you say that? They might not get 45 minutes.
Silly... Yeah. Well, I'm on an hour. We just passed 60 minutes on my Discord recording, so that's fun.
Welcome to 60 minutes of Discord.
Anyway, I will catch you all later, because I actually need to go bugger off. Yeah. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Do we need to do an outro or anything?
That was the outro. Bye-bye.
I'm writing the outro. Give me some time.